Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're journeying back to Westeros, specifically 50 years after Aegon's conquest. Now, on the surface, you'd think this would be a golden age, right?
Absolutely, a time for celebration, feasts, peace.
Yeah.
Especially with the young King Jaehaerys I on the throne, everyone called him the darling of the realm.
But, Septon Barth, who was Jaehaerys' incredibly wise hand later on, he wrote something quite profound. He said, "All men are sinners, strong and weak, good and bad, cruel and kind, heroic and selfish."
And that's really the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That complex human nature. Well, it was brewing a storm right beneath all that apparent peace and quiet.
Yeah. So for this deep dive, we're looking at sources that are, well, sometimes they even contradict each other, but they paint this picture of a critical year where the realm wasn't unified at all. It was fracturing.
Right. Fracturing because of personal ambitions, these old grudges festering, and just a raw struggle for power among the people closest to the Iron Throne. It honestly threatened to pull Westeros right back into war.
It's this fascinating setup described as having one king, a hand, and three queens, and each queen was a real power in her own right.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is really to uncover those hidden currents, the loyalty, the betrayal. What happens when careful plans just collide with messy human nature?
Well, that collision, that unraveling, it really started gaining speed in 49 AC, the year just before the one we're focusing on. It was called the Year of the Three Brides.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the unity that actually put Jaehaerys on the throne. It was already starting to fray pretty badly.
Okay, so let's dig into that. The core conflict, the real spark, was Jaehaerys' sudden marriage, right? He was only 15.
15, yeah. And he marries his sister Alysanne, who's 13. And crucially, it's done in secret.
Secretly. Against the wishes of his own mother, Queen Regent Alyssa, and the king's hand, Lord Rhaegar Baratheon.
Exactly. So this isn't just some teenage romance drama, though there's certainly that element. Strategically, it's a massive challenge to their authority.
How so? I mean, beyond just defying them.
Well, it completely derailed their plans. They likely had other, more politically advantageous matches in mind for Jaehaerys. This secret wedding just created instant mistrust and, frankly, a power vacuum.
Okay.
And while that marriage was the immediate trigger, the sources make it clear the other two weddings from that Year of Three Brides also left some deep scars.
Right, like Lord Rhaegar marrying Queen Alyssa herself.
Yes. Jaehaerys hadn't given his leave for that either, and he saw it as, well, blatant disrespect. He even told Septon Barth later he thought his own judgment was better than Rhaegar's, said he didn't need a second father.
So you see this confidence, maybe even a bit of arrogance, emerging in the young king already.
Definitely. And Queen Alyssa, despite being the Queen Regent and Rhaegar's new wife, she also felt personally slighted.
Ow.
She was really hurt that she wasn't told about or even invited to her eldest daughter Rhaenyra's third wedding out on Fair Isle.
Wow. So even at the top, these personal snubs could turn into real political friction.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us neatly to Queen Jaehaera Targaryen, the Queen in the West, they called her.
Out on Fair Isle, what was her deal? Sounds like she had her own issues.
Big time. She had significant grievances. For one, she never really got why her mother liked Rhaegar Baratheon so much. And while she sort of respected him for helping Jaehaerys against Maegor.
Maegor the Cruel, the previous king.
Right. But she could never forgive Rhaegar for basically doing nothing when her own husband, Prince Aegon, went up against Maegor alone and died in the battle beneath the God's Eye.
Okay, so there's that deep-seated bitterness towards Rhaegar. What else?
Well, she was also pretty resentful that her own claim to the Iron Throne and her daughter's claims were just completely ignored in favor of her baby brother Jaehaerys.
Yeah, you can see that. She was the firstborn, right? And a dragon rider even before him?
Exactly. Rode Dreamfire. But everyone, even her mother, just passed her over. And then her choice of husband, Andrew Farman. It was interesting.
How so?
He was a second son, 9 years younger than her. Apparently quite gentle, not a knight, not known for being particularly clever. But Rhaenyra's reason for marrying him.
What was it?
Simply, he was kind to me.
Huh. So maybe seeking personal comfort over political gain there. It's fascinating how these very personal feelings, these family slights, really become fuel for major political problems.
Totally. And while Rhaenyra's carving out her own path in the West, back in King's Landing, things are hitting the fan over Jaehaerys' secret wedding.
Lord Rhaegar must have been furious.
Furious is an understatement. The sources say he was stunned, felt deeply betrayed, called it ingratitude from a boy he'd thought of as a son. His first impulse, go to Dragonstone and bring them back.
Like forcibly.
Yeah, He actually offered the Kingsguard, the king's own protectors, that honor of dying to retrieve the king and queen. Speaks volumes about his temper, doesn't it?
Definitely a warrior's mindset, but Alyssa stopped him.
She did. Despite her own hurt and anger, she reminded him by love, my children ride dragons and we do not. A very pragmatic, chilling reminder.
So her concern was more strategic, dynastic.
According to Septon Barth, yes. She was genuinely worried about her kids, the dynasty, the realm, and especially how the faith would react to an incestuous marriage, which was still a very touchy subject.
Right.
Barth also noted Alyssa struggled sometimes. She wanted to be loved, wanted praise, which sometimes made it hard for her to do the unpopular but necessary thing. A very human flaw, really.
Did they try to undo the marriage?
They tried to keep it secret, at least initially. Rogar ordered everyone to shut up about it, hoping maybe it could be annulled if it wasn't consummated.
Seems unlikely to work.
It was called a vain hope in the histories. Like anything stays secret in Westeros for long, especially involving Targaryens.
True. And all this drama was happening while the kingdom was basically broke, wasn't it?
Exactly. Maegor's wars had emptied the treasury. Lord Sheltegar, the master of coin, slapped these new taxes on King's Landing port. Fees tripled, taxes on goods, fees on inns.
How did that go down?
Badly. Very badly. Building projects stopped, inns emptied out, ships started going to other ports like Duskendale or Maidenpool to avoid the fees. People hated Sheltegar and, by extension, Rogar and Alyssa.
So the Regency was losing support fast.
Yeah, and even work on the Dragon Pit, that huge structure they were building for the dragons, just ground to a halt. No money.
And it wasn't just money problems, right? There was trouble elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. Down south, Dornish raids were getting bolder. Rumors of another Vulture King stirring up trouble.
And up north.
A rebellion. Former poor fellows and warrior sons, those militant faith groups Maegor had tried to crush, rose up near the wall. And tragically, Lord Walton Stark was killed pursuing them, torn apart by giants, apparently.
Grim.
And his brother, Elaric Stark, who became the new Lord of Winterfell, he held a grudge for years. Blamed Aerys' earlier leniency towards those rebels for his brother's death.
So even trying to be merciful could backfire politically.
Absolutely. Shows how complex ruling is, even for a regent.
Yet, while all this is happening, Jaehaerys and Alysanne are on Dragonstone, having what Alysanne called an Beetle.
Yeah, she seemed genuinely happy there.
Yeah?
Told Jaehaerys, here I have you to myself day and night. Said they'd look back and smile about how happy they were.
But Jaehaerys, was he just enjoying the break?
Not entirely. He shared some of that happiness, sure, but his silence was also strategic. He wasn't sorry about the marriage, he was biding his time.
Why?
He was furious about being excluded from council meetings back in King's Landing, and he had zero intention of letting Rogar rule him. Remember that I don't need a second father line.
Right, and he was worried about looking weak like his own father, Aenys.
Very much so. Aenys had that reputation, and Jaehaerys was determined not to repeat it. That's why he started training like a maniac.
Training with swords.
Relentlessly. With his Kingsguard and his Master-at-Arms, Soraya's scales, he told them to push him hard, often ended sessions bruised and bloody.
What was the goal? To become a great warrior.
To make sure no one ever questioned his courage or skill. He knew people would test him because he was young. Sir Elias eventually told him, look, you'll never be Kingsguard level, but if Maegor himself came back, my money's on you.
High praise. And did this strategy work? Did people see him as strong?
Well, something interesting happened. Lords started bypassing King's Landing and going directly to Dragonstone to consult with Jaehaerys.
Really? Defying Rogar?
Yep. Lords like Massey, Staunton, Darklyn, even the Valyrian sons, they formed this sort of shadow court. It infuriated Rogar, obviously.
So Jaehaerys was already playing the game, building his own power base, even while supposedly isolated.
Exactly. He showed he had political smarts even as a teenager. Rogar couldn't even get the Valyrian fleet to stop them. Lord Daemon Valerian basically just said no. Showed how Rogar's grip was slipping.
Okay, this is getting complicated. And then Alyssa sends these wise women to Dragonstone. What was that about?
Well, Alyssa's stated goal was to send these fiercely righteous women to convince Alysanne that marrying her brother was a terrible sin in the eyes of the faith.
But Rogar had other ideas.
Oh, definitely. For Rogar, they were spies.
Yeah.
Eyes and ears. Specifically, he wanted to make sure the marriage wasn't consummated.
And one of these women was Corianne Wilde. She sounds infamous.
She is. Her inclusion really shows how desperate Rogar was getting. Corianne had a scandalous past, deflowered young, had a bastard son who was actually fostered in Rogar's own household at Storm's End.
Wow. And there's that book about her, A Caution for Young Girls.
Yes, this notorious text, supposedly her testimony, but scholars think it's heavily embellished, maybe written by multiple people. It's lewd, contradictory, basically a medieval tabloid story.
So what's the story with her and Rogar? Sources disagree.
They do. Some say Rogar's brother, Sir Boris, met her. Others say Rogar himself did. But the instruction was basically, go to Dragonstone, pretend to be a maid, and seduce the king.
Seduce Jaehaerys to break up the marriage.
That seems to be the simple, ugly answer the sources point to. Ruin Jaehaerys' reputation, give grounds for annulment. It was a pretty low move.
Did it work? Did she exceed?
Well, the caution book has all sorts of wild claims. Some say she did bed him, some even say she taught him things out of affection for the couple. But the actual historical record, no, her mission failed.
So what happened to her?
She ended up fleeing Dragonstone in secret with a married Kingsguard knight, Sir Howard Bullock. Apparently took his wife's jewelry too, and then embarked on a life of trials, tribulations, and erotic adventures, detailed in that dubious book.
It's a bizarre side story, but it really shows the lengths Rogar was willing to go to, doesn't it? And how history can get twisted by sensationalism.
Absolutely. The real story is Rogar's desperate power play. Corianne was just a pawn.
Okay, so while all that mess is unfolding, let's swing back west to Rhaenyra on Fair Isle. She'd gathered her own little court there.
She had. Her close friends Elaine Royce and Samantha Stokeworth were there. And very importantly, her new confidant, Lady Alyssa Farman.
Andrew Farman's sister.
That's the one. She sounds amazing, sharp, spirited, loved sailing. The Farman words are the wind our steed, and she really embodied that. Dreamed of sailing west, beyond the known world.
And she became close with Rhaenyra.
Incredibly close. They formed this tight circle with Elaine and Sam, Sir Franklin Farman, Alyssa's brother, actually called them the four-headed beast.
Andrew, her husband, wasn't really part of it.
Not really. Rhaenyra often took the ladies flying on Dreamfire, but almost never Andro. Telling, isn't it?
Yeah. But things weren't totally smooth on Fair Isle either.
No. There were tensions. Those militant faith types, the poor fellows, were angry she was sheltering some former Maegor supporters. Locals were getting nervous about Dreamfire getting bigger and hungrier.
And dragon eggs were found.
Yes. Which led to some creepy prophecies from a local begging brother about dragons devouring everything. Definitely ramped up the anxiety.
And Alyssa's brother, Sir Franklin, he wasn't happy.
Not at all. He resented Rhaenyra deeply. His family had suffered fighting for Rhaenyra's first husband, Aegon. He didn't like her influence over Alyssa, and he hated how visiting lords were all there to see Rhaenyra, not him, the heir to Fair Isle. Classic case of feeling overshadowed in your own home.
So it was a powder keg waiting to explode.
And explode it did. Lord Mark, Franklin and Alyssa's father, died unexpectedly choked on a fishbone of all things.
Seriously?
Yep. So Franklin instantly becomes Lord Farman. And the day after the funeral, he confronts Rhaenyra, tells her to get off his island.
Just like that. What about Alyssa?
He demanded Alyssa stay. Rhaenyra was furious. The sources talk about the fire in her eyes, like she could picture Faircastle burning.
But Alyssa refused to stay.
She did, which led to a standoff at the docks. But the local small folk apparently loved Alyssa, and they basically mobbed Franklin and his men, letting Alyssa and Rhaenyra's people escape by ship.
And Rhaenyra.
She flew ahead on Dreamfire, straight to Casterly Rock. She figured Lord Lyman Lannister would take her in, like he had before.
So, off to the Lannisters. That sounds like jumping from the frying pan into the fire, maybe.
Well, initially it seemed okay. Lord Lyman welcomed her lavishly. His bastard son, Sir Tyler Hill, had fought alongside Rhaenyra's first husband, so there was a connection.
But the welcome wore thin.
Pretty quickly. Rhaenyra started noticing the servants were basically spying on her. Castle Septa started asking intrusive questions about whether her marriage to Andro was, consummated.
Awkward.
And Sir Tyler Hill, the bastard son, was openly disrespectful to Andro while hitting on Rhaenyra, showing off his battle scars from Aegon's service.
Classy. And then the dragon eggs came up.
Yes. Lord Lyman got this unseemly interest in the 3 dragon eggs Rhaenyra had brought from Dragonstone. Hinted they'd make a fine gift, even offered a huge amount of gold for them.
Ah, so that was the Lannister angle? They didn't just want a royal guest?
Exactly. Rhaenyra realized they wanted an alliance, sure, but more than that, they wanted dragons. They saw a chance to become equals to the Targaryens.
Which Rhaenyra, knowing her family history,
knew was incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
Dragon Lord contending with Dragon Lord, as she put it. The memory of the Dance of the Dragons, even generations later, was strong. She knew they had to get out of Casterly Rock.
So while Rhaenyra is dealing with grasping Lannisters, what's happening back in King's Landing? Did the marriage secret finally blow up?
Totally. Rogar's attempts to hush it up failed miserably. Whispers spread everywhere. Finally, Queen Alyssa just had to face facts.
What did she say?
She basically told the council, it is done. We must needs live with it, and we must use all our powers to protect them from what may come. She'd lost her first husband, lost Maegor. She wasn't about to lose Jaehaerys and Aegon II. A real moment of maternal strength, finally.
But Rogar didn't take it well.
Not even slightly. He couldn't stand losing control. In a fit of rage, he publicly called Alyssa weak, and then he proposed something truly shocking.
What?
He suggested removing Jaehaerys from the throne altogether, send him off to the Citadel to become a maester, basically sideline him permanently.
And replace him with who?
His 8-year-old niece, Jaehaera Targaryen, Rhaenyra's daughter. Rogar claimed Arya had a stronger claim, which is debatable, and said she had a fire in her Jaehaerys does not have.
Wow. And his reasoning?
He flat out said, her mother will support her, Queen Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra has a dragon. He was literally proposing another civil war.
Fighting dragon again. The council must have freaked out.
They were horrified. After Maegor's reign, that was the last thing anyone wanted. But Alyssa, even though she was reportedly in tears, she stood her ground.
What did she do?
She declared, I am the Queen Regent. Your service no longer pleases me, Lord Rogar. Leave us and return to Storm's End.
She fired him.
Just like that. Could she do that?
Rogar didn't think so. He asked incredulously if she thought she could dismiss him. And that's when Lord Corbray, the commander of the City Watch, settled it.
How?
He drew his Valyrian steel sword, Lady Forlorn, a famous blade, and just laid the point towards Rogar on the council table. A silent, deadly threat.
Message received, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Rogar's face went pale. He realized he had no support left. He ripped off his hand's brooch, threw it at Alyssa in contempt, and stormed out of King's Landing.
What about his army? Didn't he bring men?
He did, but apparently many of them had already deserted or were lost to the flesh pots and alehouses of King's Landing. His authority had just crumbled. Classic pride before a fall. But he wasn't quite done yet, was he? There was one last desperate plan.
Unbelievably, yes. Even on his way out, disgraced, he cooked up this scheme to kidnap Jaehaerys' other sister, the novice Rhaenyra Targaryen, from her sept in Old Town.
Kidnap her? Why?
The plan was to force her to pretend she was Princess Arya, Rhaenyra's daughter, and then crown this fake Arya as queen. It was completely mad.
Did it get anywhere?
Nope. Foiled pretty quickly by a stern septa named Carolyn and some wary guards in Old Town. Rogar's brother Oren, who was supposed to carry it out, ended up arrested. It was just pathetic, really.
And what happened to the real Princess Arya amidst all this plotting?
Ironically, she found a weird kind of freedom. Alyssa had Lord Corbray hide her away, disguised as a stable girl for the rest of the regency.
A princess disguised as a stable girl.
Yeah, and years later, Arya apparently said it was the happiest time of her life. Go figure.
Strange times. What about Alyssa? How did she handle the fallout with Rogar?
She was devastated. Her marriage to Rogar was obviously ruined. The conflict had taken a huge toll. She appointed her brother, Daemon Valerian, as the new hand of the king, and then basically retreated from public life. Spent most of her time in her chambers in Maegor's Holdfast.
Just withdrew completely.
Pretty much shattered by it all.
And Rogar. What was his fate?
He went back to Storm's End, completely broken. Fell into despair, started drafting his will, fully expecting to be executed or sent to the wall.
But that wasn't the end of the story, was it?
No, because the calendar kept turning, and on the 20th day of the 9th moon of 50 AC...
Jaehaerys turned 16.
Exactly. He reached his majority, old enough to rule in his own right. No more regency needed. The whole realm was watching.
Wow. So after all that chaos, that incredibly tumultuous year, the boy king was finally king indeed.
Yeah, and yet to think all that conflict, all that personal pride, love, ambition, betrayal, the shifting loyalties, it must have profoundly shaped Jaehaerys and Alysanne.
Forged them in fire almost.
It really prepared them for the long reign ahead. A reign that would be prosperous, yes, but definitely not simple. Those early challenges, especially the ones rooted in family conflict, really made them the rulers they became.
It's an incredible story. This deep dive just shows how tangled individual desires and political power can get, especially within a family, let alone a royal one.
Absolutely. You see the young king's determination clashing with Regent's fears, and this spurned queen's resentments mixing with naked ambition, even these weird, sordid side stories like Corianne Wild.
Ah.
It all weaves together to change the course of the realm.
So it makes you wonder, doesn't it, how much of history is really about grand plans and how much is just the unpredictable currents of human feelings, those whispers and rumors that might not even be true but still have huge impact.
Right. And thinking about Jaehaerys, having navigated all that treachery and conflict so young within his own family,
Hmm.
what kind of king does that make? Yeah, how does surviving that shape how you rule the Seven Kingdoms for the next 50 years? It's something to really think about.